So here we have my little Porsche project. In the coming months I'll be putting it back together and on the road. I'll try to document as much of that as possible. You can see the body is in pretty good condition. It only shows 35,000 on the odometer. I'm assuming that's 135,000 looking at it. It's got the good wheel option. Bodywork is in good shape. Someone actually started to prep it for paint and it just never got there. The motor is the 1.7 Volkswagen 4-cylinder. Someone's converted it to a 2-barrel Holly. I plan on putting the fuel injection back on it. Let's see, taillights are in good shape. It's got one flat tire. The tires are actually the original SRs. So I'll be upgrading those. Bottom seat cushion, as you can see, is torn up. At least that comes out easily. The headrest needs to be redone. So the interior needs some light work, but all in all, it's actually in pretty good shape. Like I said, it's in pretty good nick. It does have the single mirror. I do have pretty much all the bits that went with it. So stay tuned and we'll see this thing go back on the road. Okay, we are back with the 1970 Porsche 914. Time to start working on trying to make it roll. As you can see, the brakes have seen better days. I have no idea when the last time this thing was on the road. It was literally a barn find. Quite literally. As you can see, the pads have just about had it. I have found some new ones. Believe it or not, the local AutoZone had them on shelf. So I was amazed. But the pistons are out, and I don't necessarily trust the caliper. So rather than just press them back in, slap some pads in, and call it a day, I'm going to rework the entire caliper. While I'm at it, it looks like there's some bearing grease coming out of the center, so we're obviously going to redo the bearings. And that rotor has obviously had it. Nice and solid rotor. Honestly, it's really not in that bad a shape, but since it has been sitting for who knows how long, we'll go ahead and tear those off and see if we can't replace it. The suspension itself, I can't see through the dust shield, so we'll pull that and see what it looks like. But honestly, it doesn't look too bad. The amount of rust on this chassis is pretty minimal, all things considered, considering the fact that it comes from an Ohio barn. But yeah, tie rod ends still look nice and solid. Everything's still nice and solid. The whole car wants to rock instead of being able to turn anything by hand. The antenna's hanging, so hopefully I've got the bits to put that back in, because I'm willing to bet the little nut to put those back up in there not going to be easy to source. But beyond that, I'm pretty happy with the condition of this little beast. So we'll tear those calipers off and see what they look like, and we'll go from there. I'll post another short video once I get them off and figure out what they look like. Okay, so we have our caliper off. As you can see, I was right, it's in horrible state. It's like both pistons are out. It does use a twin piston squeeze, kind of like a motorcycle. So both pistons are out and the pads are pretty well fried. I don't see any reason to try to put these pistons back in through normal force. I'm actually going to tear apart the whole caliper, which comes apart like a sandwich, and rebuild it and do new pads for it. So it's not too bad. 4 bolts, high torque, couple O-rings, and everything should just fall apart. So I'll take that inside where I can do it kind of in comfort. In better news, it looks like my bearings, which I thought I was going to have to replace, the dust cap was just loose, which is why my grease was coming out. So quick repack, and these are in great shape. No grind, no roll. I mean, it just spins extremely free. So looks like I get to do even less work to this car than I thought I was going to have to do. So all I got to do is tear this thing apart, get it reworked, and we'll see what the other side looks like. Okay, so hopefully. Okay, so I managed to tear the caliper out of the other side. And as you can see, this caliper has had more spider activity than braking activity in the last few decades. So we'll get that all cleaned up, torn apart, and hopefully repaired. I don't know if I can even source those replacements. I haven't looked into it. I'm sure someone makes them. Beyond that, I was worried because it didn't really roll when I pulled it into the garage that the bearings were going to be really, really bad. But it turns out the brakes are what was really bad. The bearings are in great shape. Nice and quiet and free spinning. So at least there's some good news. There's a silver lining on every project. Okay, so when I get these torn apart and cleaned, we'll put another video up.